Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. I'm your host, Brooke Mitchell, and today's topic is Ghosts of the Woods, the Fire Salamander, with NatHab Expedition Leader Andrea Serena. Thank you so much for being here today, Andrea. Over to you.
Hi, Brooke. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here with you today again. I quickly present myself. I'm Andrea. I'm a nature guide since 2016. I do it in very different environments, but often in mountain and alpine habitats. An official Dolomites National Park guide, and I teach environmental education mostly to primary school kids. Then, of course, I'm very happy to be an expedition leader for NatHab since 2019. And now we are ready for this new episode of this series, Ghost of the Woods. So
Andrea, I
after,
hate to interrupt you really fast. Could you actually move down your camera a little bit? We only see your forehead.
oh, sorry about
Perfect.
that.
Thank you. Thank
I
you
can't see
so
myself.
much.
Is that okay?
Yes, that's perfect. You can
Oh, sorry about
continue
that.
on. Thank you.
Thank you. Ghost of the Woods. After the lynx, the greater noctule bat, and the wildcat, let's now start to discover the features of the today's special guest, the beautiful fire salamander. First of all, salamanders are tailed amphibians classified in the order Urodila. Basically, an urodile is an amphibian characterized by a thin body, long tail, short legs. Short legs suitable both for swimming and for moving on land, of course. It is very different from a neuron amphibian, the order that includes frogs and toads, which in the adult phase don't have a tail, which is absorbed at some point of the larval stage to have, let's say, extra energy to complete the metamorphosis. Then the third order, apoda, with the Sicilians, a word which in Latin means blind ones. This is a group of limbless, as you see, worm-shaped amphibians with small or sometimes non-existent eyes. They mostly live hidden in soil or in stream beds, and they are very difficult to spot. Um, the description of the animal now. So the fire salamander is easily recognizable by its black color with showy yellow spots. It reaches almost 10 inches as maximum length, including the tail, with a maximum weight of 50 grams, with generally the females longer and larger than males. The skin, smooth and shiny, is dotted with small glands secreting the mucus that cover the animal. Uh, the mucus has bactericidal function. It protects the skin from infections, reduces dehydration, and has a repellent taste for any kind of predators. The bright colors of the skin indicates that the salamander is not edible. These fleshy colors are called warning colors. More specifically, this is called aposematic function, and we see it in thousands of species of animals all around the globe. Um, Now, distribution and habitat of this cute animal. Uh, Here in this slide, we can see how the fire salamander has a wide distribution in Europe, including various areas of the Iberian Peninsula, Central Europe, the Italian Peninsula, the Carpathians, and the Balkans. Three closely related species live in the Maghreb, so North Africa, Corsica, and Asia Minor, which are, I can tell you the Latin name, sorry about that. The Salamandra algira, the Corsica, and the Infraimmacolata. These are the scientific name. These salamanders were considered simple subspecies until a few years ago. And so, believing that this animal lived in at least three different continents. But lately, herpetologists and scientists in general confirm that genetically those animals um, belong to different species, making the fire salamander an indigenous European animal. Special mention must be made regarding the fire salamanders found in the United Kingdom, because those animals were introduced there around the late 80s. Uh, that was a time when scientists in the UK were using salamanders a lot for experiments, mostly to create and find new medicine, etc. But a lot of them managed to escape into the wild. But there are now roughly probably 10 to 20 breeding pairs there into the wild in the UK. So as you can see here in the map, UK is not considered in the animals range map. The fire salamander frequents cool, humid woodland environments, as you see here, crossed by small streams, often essential for reproduction. The structure and characteristics of the waterways also play a very, very important role in determining the distribution of the species, because extremely important for the larva. So shallow, naturally flowing streams, rich in shelter and with a well-diversified substrate, are more likely to host these very special animal. Yeah, okay. During the day, salamanders retreat to their, let's call it, daytime hiding places, which can be dens of small mammals, spaces between stone slabs, tree stumps, but also artificial sites. For example, abandoned mining tunnels, cellars, underground deposits, etc. But always preferring little light. Water quality is also extremely important. Um, in fact, the salamander usually give birth in little or not at all polluted waterways with ample availability of macroinvertebrates like tiny crustaceans, insect larvae, etc., on which the fire salamander larvae feed. In some cases, the salamander also uses washhouses or small ponds fed by springs, which guarantee an adequate level of oxygenation, which is key for the larva. Beautiful animal. What about the behavior? Let's see it. So, the adult fire salamanders have a very discrete life, being mostly a nocturnal animal. It appears during the day only in case of rain or very humid weather, for example, very foggy day. In southern Europe, the fire salamander is active mainly during the autumn and spring months and doesn't retreat into winter hibernation. However, in Central Europe, much colder, these salamanders are active in spring and summer and hibernate during the autumn and winter months. Um, with sedentary habits, these animals, especially the females, remain very faithful to their shelters, especially in winter during the latency period. Um, the belief that the fire salamander is poisonous is partially true. Its skin glands can, in fact, secrete a substance that irritates, but contrary to the popular belief, this animal is absolutely harmless to humans. The only precautions to take is not to touch the eyes if you pick it up, as the mucus could cause irritation. Um, by the way, touch them should be avoided with bare, dry hands and only made in cases of necessity. Um, for example, to move the animal from dangerous places, such as the middle of a busy road, for example. I do pick them up to show them to my students or to my guests, but always paying attention because we can't stress the animal. And most important, we must be respectful toward these ancestral creatures, which are ecologically extremely important for our environments. Um, Again, fire salamanders have many glands, which we can easily, as you see here, uh, we can easily see on their head and back. These produce white foamy liquid called samandarine, which is a toxic steroidal alkaloid. Very interesting, but rare to observe. Never happened to me, but if suddenly provoked, the fire salamander can spray its samandarine even up to 6.5 feet away, directing it towards its attacker. This allowed the salamander to defend itself from predators even while um, running away from them. However, this animal mainly um, uses this secretion to clean and to protect the skin from bacteria and from mycosis that can be very dangerous to the animal. We will see later. Um, in general, obviously, never say never. An extraordinary and unexpected event can always happen, such as that of a small child who perhaps finding a salamander can put it in his mouth as he would naturally do with a toy, with a colored toy. In this case, a mandarin can make breathing difficult and cause cramps as well as it can interfere with the heart rhythm, but a small amount of samandarin is not dangerous at all. Just be careful, the kids. The diet of the fire salamander now. Let's check it out. Um, so The larvae of the fire salamander feed on small invertebrates that they hunt into water. So tiny crustaceans, annelid worms, and larvae of ephemeroptera insects and caddisflies larvae. Um, for example, we can see in the left picture next to the salamander these caddisflies larvae, because in the adult phase they look like small brown butterflies. We see them here inside their very nice portable casing these insects use to excuse me, protect themselves. We also have to say that if food is scarce on, or if the density of the larva is too high, for example, a lot of larvae in a small pond, they could resort to cannibalism, as you can see in the right picture. Nature. The diet of the adult fire salamander consists in the animal you can see here. Again, invertebrates and generally a mix of the most abundant species available in the salamander's habitat. These include soft-bodied prey such as earthworms and slugs, and harder-bodied prey like flies, millipedes, centipedes, spiders, beetles, among others. Occasionally, they can eat very small newts and also young tiny frogs. For example, in those days, they just jump outside the water, they just complete the metamorphosis, they are so small, you know. That's a lot of protein for a salamander. Um, Fire salamanders use different hunting strategies depending the situations. When some light is available, it uses the movement of the prey as a signal and ignores the stationary prey. However, when hunting in the dark, the salamander uses smell as its primary tool, since vision is, of course, impaired. In this situation, it will attack prey even if the prey is motionless, as long as it can detect its smell, of course. Okay, now let's talk about the reproduction of these special salamander. Excuse me. So during the mating period, the male performs very complex courtship ritual, at the end of which basically he leaves a spermatophore on the ground, which is collected by the female through the cloacal lips, or the male grabs the female from below and deposits the spermatophore. Then it moves to the side so that the female falls on top of it. These are the two way to start the reproduction. Very particular also to see, to admire into the wild. Very nice. Okay. The female can retain the sperm for a certain period before ovulation. This partly explains the long the long period of the gestation, between fertilization in the summer and the birth of the larva the following spring. But important, the fire salamander is a viviparous animal, and the larvae are already quite developed at birth, so no eggs. Okay. So both mating and gestation take place outside the water, and after a period of incubation, the female goes towards a well oxygenated body of water where it gives birth to the already formed larva. um, Up to 50, 60 larvae, but usually between 20 and 30. That's more common. It, it depends. It depends. This is common, for example, in the places where I go to see them, because the area it's small ponds, more waterways. 50 to 60 is generally the normality in bigger creeks or, for example, big, very well oxygenated ponds. But these are more or less the number of larvae that the fire salamander give birth. The larvae have well developed gills and four limbs, and differ from other urodile larvae by the presence of lice spots at the base of the limbs, as we can see in the bigger picture here. So basically, in the wild out there, if you see this, they look like circular white spots, like rings, that tell us 100% we are facing a fire salamander larva, because they look very, very similar to a lot of other amphibians, urodile amphibians, like looks very similar to the larva of the alpine newt, the spotted newt, the crested newt. But this white little thing um, are straight away the thing to check if you want to know 100% what species we have in front of us. Okay, once in the water, the larva will remain there breathing with these external gills, and only after these have been reabsorbed, the juvenile will be able to exit the water. Um, the gills will disappear with the metamorphosis, which, again, depending on the period and temperature, it can last from 3 to 6 months. Then, uh, okay, the small salamanders come out from the water perfectly formed and colored. Here you can see on the top left a larva still in the aquatic phase, and another larger one which is close to leaving the water, a moment which we can see better in the two pictures on the right. And then finally, bottom left, here is the small salamander in a woodland environment shortly after leaving the water, and finally ready to start the adult phase of its existence. The yellow spots appear quickly, sometimes within a few hours. That's very cool to see. Then the life of these cute little animals can be very long, and in the wild can reach 20-25 years. But there's a documented case of a fire salamander living for 50 years, from 1863 to 1913, in a terrarium in the Alexander Koenig Museum at the Zoological Research Institute Bonn in Germany. And that's incredible. The animal was kept in captivity, of course, but it's still really impressive. 50 years an amphibian is almost shocking. Okay, let's see now what the natural enemies of these little beauties are. In this case, we must consider separately the salamander in the larval stage and in the adult stage. So the larvae generally have animals such as fish as their main predator. So especially salmonids such as small trouts. Uh, yeah, small trouts. They are also attacked by snakes, especially juvenile grass snakes. That is precisely the animal that connect us to the adult phase of the fire salamander, which, thanks to its defensive skills, producing those toxins we saw before from its skin, generally has no predators at all, with rare documented cases of predation suffered by the snakes just mentioned, the grass snake. You can see here an adult grass snake, beautiful snake, one of my favorite, amazing animal, by the way. But if that happens, usually the snake tends to regurgitate the salamander after a few minutes due to the toxic substance that accumulates at the beginning of the reptile's digestive system. Now, apart from excuse me, natural causes of death, what's more problematic for these animals? Let's see. This is huge because today these amphibians face a big enemy. An international team of scientists published an article showing that the population of European salamanders and newts as well are seriously threatened by the spread of this pathogenic fungus of Asian origin. So, starting in 2010, some salamander populations suddenly began to become extinct in Belgium and in the Netherlands. Researchers analyzing the skin of the animals found dead have discovered a new highly pathogenic fungus for amphibians with weird name, the Batrachochytrium salamandrivorans, which is interesting because in Latin literally mean salamander devouring fungus. You can see a few examples here in these pictures, as well as the mycosis under the microscope. Experiments made in the laboratories with the infection have demonstrated that it spreads through simple skin contact in few seconds. This is terrible for this kind of animal. Let's see. This fungus is also related to the already known Dendrobatides, which is responsible for numerous mass mortality and extinction events in amphibian population in various parts of the globe. In the bottom left image, you can also see how the infection evolves. It's a simple explanation. In nature, let's call it salamander eating fungus has only been found in salamander population in Asia, in countries such as Thailand, Vietnam, Japan, where, however, it has never caused extinctions. And its presence has also been detected in amphibians of Asian origin sold in the pet shops in Europe, and that's the problem. because this suggests that the fungus evolved in Asia and was recently imported and spread in Europe through the trade of amphibians that, of course, managed to escape from captivity. So one of the symbols of these animals is certainly the beautiful here, this beauty in front of you, the oriental fire belly toad. This scientific name, this is the Bombina orientalis. And this is an Asian species, and it's sold everywhere in Europe and around the world because it's very, very appreciated. Above all, for its very particular and beautiful coloration, but unfortunately, it is the vector of this scourge, which is decimating in some areas the fire salamanders and other amphibians as well. So once again, the market of exotic species proves to be extremely harmful to biodiversity. I know, for example, in the United States, you are facing huge problems and having huge battles. For example, in Florida, in the Everglades, with these snakes imported from other places of the world, and it is time to change this. Probably starting from the kids, we have probably to, my opinion, to push more in the school and to teach them what can be very, very dangerous. Because, and I'm the first to say that, when we were young, especially kids, we are sometimes, not all, but sometimes fascinated by animals that here or in your country, of course, you can't see. So we are going to see these exotic species. If we can, we ask for them. So we don't know at that age that we can create huge problem for biodiversity and for the environments, but I think we can change that. Now, I think it's time. Maybe it's too late, but I think it's time. Anyway, all this should stimulate more research about the pathology as well of amphibians and the consequences of the decline of the population of this animal, which play an important ecological role in this temperate ecosystem. I'm talking now about the area where the fire salamander live. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, amphibians are the group or vertebrate animals with the greatest risk of extinction globally. Main causes of the decline of amphibians are the destruction of habitats, the pollution and exploitation of waters, and the introduction of invasive exotic species, which, other than preying on and competing with the native amphibians, can, as we saw, spread new pathology to animals that have not evolved specific immune defenses. Another huge problem common in many anthropized areas is the high mortality, okay, caused by the traffic. We talk about millions of amphibians that are crushed by motor vehicles every year all over the world. So because of this brutal situation, we are looking for a solution with very low environmental impact, but which can be very, very helpful. So I'm talking about underpasses and protection nets used along the main migratory routes of these amphibians, especially during the reproduction period. Um, Sometimes these nets convey the animals towards underpasses, and therefore human intervention is limited to the positioning of the barriers and the construction of the tunnels under the roads, of course. This is a perfect example, very well made and just perfect. Not only for amphibians, it might be used also by small mammals, for example. Um, Sometimes instead, if there's no tunnels, the use of nets alone is used, but in that case is necessary, especially at night and during rainy days, people to manually collect the amphibians from the barriers and then move them to the other side of the road where the animals continue their migration safely. This is obviously also done after the reproduction because they do it. They do the migratory way, of course, twice. No, so when the amphibian leave the water and return to their, let's call it, terrestrial habitats. This action is done almost, at least here, exclusively by volunteers. But I can tell you it works very well. I've been doing it for years, and I remember certain nights when with couple of friends we managed to move 400-500 amphibians in just 2-3 hours. Of course, not only salamanders because they move all together with frogs and toads, but yeah, it's something I recommend everyone to do because it's extremely helpful for biodiversity, plus helping so many wild animals with little effort and in a short time gives great feelings. Um, Now, let's discover together some curiosities about the exceptional fire salamander, especially considering mass culture. So, the fire salamander has been the subject of legends and popular beliefs for centuries, including that according to which it is able to survive the fire, um, and to live inside the fire. This belief is, of course, totally false, and the salamander's moist skin makes it extremely vulnerable not only to heat sources but also to desiccation if away from humid places. Let me explain how this belief was born. Basically, these animals very often take refuge in dead tree stumps in winter time, which are then commonly collected as firewood. That once they were thrown to the fire, they gave life in few moments to scenes that centuries ago were considered almost demonic. With these animals suddenly seen running out of the flames, of course, to escape the fire and the heat. So nothing magic. But you see, as always, how every legend is inspired by a fact that is actually real. And so, I mean, it's common that the fire salamander during wintertime hide in those places. Um, these are animals that have aroused interest for millennia. Think, for example, of what was written about salamanders 2,000 years ago, as the naturalist Pliny the Elder did in his very famous work Naturalis Historia, written around during the first century. Uh, um, Pliny says about the first salamander, you can see a part here. It is so cold that it can put out a fire with simple contact. The mucus that, like milk, flows from its mouth destroys the hair and discolors and decomposes every part of the body that is touched by it. And it continues. A single individual can exterminate an entire population of men with its poison. It poisons the fruits, and those who eat them die before winter. If you bake bread with wood it has just touched, it is all poison, as is the water it falls into. I mean, Pliny the Elder was a very great character, but on this occasion, he really made a huge mistake. Unfortunately, even today, there are those who are afraid of this harmless and beautiful amphibian, which in reality is a great ally, especially as a eater of harmful insects. So helping us anti-agriculture as well. So nothing demonic, nothing coming from the hell. But now it is necessary to mention what more than a curiosity is a real superpower. True, a true and incredible biological characteristic. So among the existing tetrapods, salamanders are the only organisms that have the ability to completely regenerate the limbs and the tail, and not only that. So a specific protein called ERK have recently been identified, and basically it intervene in cellular reproduction, allowing the regeneration of entire excuse me, perfectly functioning limbs, so equipped with skin, muscle, ligaments, tendons, and bones. It's shocking. Salamanders even show the exceptional ability to regenerate even parts of important internal organs. So heart, eyes, and spinal cord, for example, which is incredible. Here you can see body parts that the salamander can regenerate. In this other slide, instead, you can clearly see how in weeks the amputated limbs completely regenerate to their perfect original shape. It's something truly shocking. Excuse me 1 second. Excuse me. This is shocking. Nature is unbeatable. This is a characteristic common to all salamanders, but certain species show a greater ability with it. In fact, the protagonist of this new study is a famous amphibians found in the American continent. A very particular species of salamander, the Ambystoma mexicanum, also known as the axolotl, which lives in a few lakes near Mexico City. Here on the right, you have some information about this fantastic animal. The axolotl owes its name to the Aztec fire god Xolotl, who, according to the legend, transformed himself into a salamander to avoid being sacrificed. The ambition is to take inspiration from axolotls to produce a group of human stem cells that can regenerate like an axolotl does. We will see if in the future we will be able to imitate the great capabilities of this small amphibian. Our species has been capable of astonishing discoveries and conquests, so never say never. Personally, I don't think we will ever achieve the complete regeneration of a limb, but thinking of being able to regenerate part of the spinal cord or the bone marrow will be something that will write an enormous new page in the history of modern medicine. So, fingers crossed. Now back to our fire salamander. Now let's see how we can help these animals and their conservation and the activity carried out by WWF, our super important partner. um, First of all, again, amphibians are the most threatened vertebrate group globally, with around 41% of species at risk, 41%. Risk of extinction, I mean, and this is largely due to climate change, habitat loss, and pollution. These threats are particularly severe in temperate climate region, um, where amphibians now face water scarcity and increased UV radiation. So WWF, with support from the Wildlife Adaptation Innovation Fund, aims to mitigate the threats amphibians face by restoring and creating new water environments, new water points, improving structures that are helpful for amphibians, and promoting good agricultural practices. Um, Habitat restoration activities will include the creation of amphibian shelters, improvement of water quality, removal of invasive species, and the construction of fences to protect the water points, and etc. This project also engaged hundreds of volunteers, especially young volunteers from local communities, to raise awareness around the amphibian population and to help carry out the habitat restoration activities. Once again, the key is to protect natural environments and to restore the lost ecosystem. And this is important for all the animals in this planet. Now, let's discover together where we might, during a NetApp trip, have the chance to spot these little beauties. Obviously, given the numerous and fantastic trips that NetApp offers all over the world, we could have the chance to see salamanders in various continents, but today we focus on the fire salamander, which is a jewel of the European continent. And therefore, there are two trips I'd like to mention, and which, with luck, of course, could give you the chance to meet this very cute salamander. One is the fantastic trip to Portugal, and the other one is the beautiful trip that is done in Slovenia and Croatia. So we are waiting for you. All right, we are at the end. I hope you enjoyed the time we spent together with this amazing amphibian. If anyone wants to ask me something, I'll be more than happy to try to answer you. And thank you very, very, very much again.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrea, for that fantastic presentation. I definitely want to come see one of these beautiful salamanders in the wild now. Oh my goodness. We do have some questions here, and I want to encourage everybody, please go ahead and drop your questions in the your GoToWebinar control panel here. I only have a few, so please feel free to submit more. We have about 5 or 6 minutes of Q&A time here. So first, Andrea, could you possibly go back to their range map? One of our viewers here noticed that there was a gaping hole in the range. Why are they not found in that part?
Okay. So you mean why not where we see white basically, right, in the range map?
Yeah, those big open parts.
Okay. So to be honest, all this range map is correct. Okay, but all that green is a bit too much. Let me explain. This animal is very typical in the temperate environment. So basically, it can live almost everywhere in the continental Europe. Okay, but they need something very important and precious, which is very clean and oxygenated water. So what we see here is correct. This is the range map, but don't think there are trillions of them everywhere. The environment must to be near to perfection to host this amazing animal. So not only water, but also temperate forest with at least good level um, of, let's say, health. Okay. Why we can't find them where you can see this light gray color? Because, for example, I can focus on my country, Italy. You see the East Coast, we can't find the salamander there. Why? Because this area you see there is extremely anthropized and there's no space there for some kind of vertebrates. For example, very difficult to find amphibians there, and also particular species of reptiles. In that area, we also almost completely lost, for example, the turtles, for example. You know, all the coast there is highly cementified, lot of people, lot of business. There's no more space there for biodiversity. So this is the reason. This is common also in the other areas you can see here in this red map colored with this light gray. I hope this answer was good enough for our guest.
That's very helpful. Yes, so the perfect ecosystem and less people, it sounds like,
Yeah,
is the main
for
takeaways.
sure.
So could you maybe explain a little bit further about their mortality rates? How often does a juvenile or a youngster fire salamander make it to adulthood?
Oh, good question. While the adult salamander, well, let's say they have no predators, almost no predators. We saw before, no, their skills and their ability to produce this toxin make the adult, almost invincible. But the larvae are very easy and proteic food, especially for small trouts. So that's the reason why in the perfect places the females give birth to at least 50 or 60 of them. Um, let's say every 50, probably, I would say no more than 5 of them will survive. That's the rate. That's similar as well with the toads and the frogs population we have here. So let's say every 100, no more than 10 survive. That's the percentage, like between 8 and 10%.
Oh, that's very helpful. Yes, thanks for that answer. And if we could take this up a little higher, how many varieties or species of salamanders are there?
Oh, oh, unfortunately, we don't even know. They are so many. I was thinking um, before to start the webinar. I was saying to myself, "Oh man, you're talking about the fire salamander to this lovely guest from United States, but I probably forgot that you are maybe more ready than me to talk about salamanders, because is Americas, considering North and South America, but mostly North America is home to more species of salamander than the entire rest of the world combined. Imagine, um, only North America, there are more than 200 species of salamander. I think 245 species of salamanders in North America. And that's the area with more salamander species than any other region of the planet. And imagine all the species that must be discovered. So uh, most of those species are in the United States, Canada as well, but lots of them in the United States, and especially in the Appalachian Mountains. That's a particular hotspot for salamander diversity. So how many species? Thousands of them, thousands of them.
It's so funny that you bring that up. I actually grew up in the Appalachian Mountains and I just happened to
Oh,
move back. So I
fantastic.
hope to, yeah, I definitely hope to get out there in nature and maybe go out with some of my expert friends to go see if I can find some salamanders too. We have the
Okay,
big
so I,
hellbenders out here.
I show you my fire salamander, you show me your 240 species there in the States. Deal.
Yes, yes. I happen to be a mammal expert, so I'll have to get some friends for that. But we will definitely share our salamander love. So I think that is the end of the questions here. So Andrea, I will turn it back to you for any closing comments.
Uh, what can I say? I would like to thank again our guest. Thank you so much. It's nice, it's beautiful to have you out there and showing you things, but I must say that this webinar experience is awesome. I love it, and it's nice because I feel like to be there with you and talking about animals and what about our passion, no? What we have in common. So just a big thank you, and I wish you a great weekend. And yeah, I see you out there one day. Thank you very much again.
Awesome. Couldn't agree more. And thank you so much for presenting for us today, Andrea. I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in. Join us Monday well, actually, no, Monday's a Labor Day here. So join us Tuesday for our next daily dose of nature. You can check out next week's lineup, including registration links on our website at nathab.com/webinars. And keep an eye out for our Sunday e-news announcement. We did record today's presentations and we will have that replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude the webinar. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye. Thank you.